girls. Welcome back to the Asterisk podcast where I'm your host, April Biondolillo, and super exciting because we actually just finished a couple weeks ago our Cherish Conference Tour 2025 in our last location of Seattle, Washington, and super exciting because one of our panelists that we had is now on the podcast. We have Jazlyn Mihai, which that is such a fun last name. I had to practice it, but it's really good. But just in case you weren't at conference with us or you don't know much, let me tell you a little bit about Jaslyn. She is a newly married 26-year-old living in Snohomish, Washington. Her and her husband Riley served together at Cedar Park Church as the young adults directors, and she is also the communications director at the church. Jaslyn is a songwriter, artist, designer, and lover of all things creative. She has a passion for helping young women navigate their young adult years and all that comes along with it, whether it's dating, career, relationships with others, or their faith. We are so excited. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
It's so fun. I love young adult life. There's so many transitions and changes. We all need help in navigating the 20s of our lives, for real. It's a mess.
It's so true. I'm only halfway through my 20s, a little bit over, and it's been a
Ugh.
ride. Got a few years left.
Here we
For my
go.
30s.
Yes. Actually, I was so excited to turn 30 and I was surprised. People are like, why are you excited to turn 30? I was like, I don't know. I feel like it's like solidifying your life. There's no more changes, transitions. I'm like, Jesus's ministry began when he was 30. So if we want to make it spiritual, 30 is just good.
There you go. We thrive in our 30s.
Yes. Flirty, 30, and thriving. The best mantra out there. Well, hey, we want to dive in just a little bit to who you are, a little bit of background about you. So go ahead and tell us. I know you grew up in a ministry family with parents who were both pastors. How did that shape your understanding of God from understanding calling from a young age?
Yeah. So like you said, I did grow up when I was born. I'm the second of 4 girls in my family. So grew up with all sisters, no boys except for my dad in the house.
Your poor dad.
My poor dad. We gave him a week every year to go hunting. And that was his time in the woods with other men.
I love it.
But yeah, I grew up, was really blessed to be in a pastor's home from when I was born. When I was born, my dad was the youth pastor at Cedar Park Church in Bothell. And my mom helped him in ministry, but was also just full-time mom with girls. And I grew up, my dad was youth pastor, and I even at a young age, my mom and dad would take me and my older sister on like winter camps. They were also the young adult directors too. So like I just grew up surrounded by older people who were high schoolers at the time, but I just always looked up to all the girls and just loved to be included and to hang out with the older kids. And that was really fun. So that definitely marked me. And then by the time, I was probably in 9th or 10th grade, we moved to a different campus where my dad became the lead pastor. And that was I was actually a bit younger. I think I was in 5th grade.
Okay.
We went to a branch campus, and it was where I really served on worship team for the first time. Because it was a small church, our volunteer team was me and my sisters.
Love it.
We would
We're here.
Hospitality. We'd set out the cookies and the coffee and the lobby.
Awesome.
We would even clean during the week. We would
look at us go.
Because we were homeschooled for a couple of years, so we would just hang out at the church. That's my first time I ever preached was when I was in 8th grade. I preached on relationships. Had never dated a man. I don't know why I was asked to preach on.
I'm the expert here.
I was thinking about it the other day. I was preaching to high schoolers who were sitting with their boyfriend. I'm like, you need to stay pure in your relationship and all these things that I don't know. But anyways,
awesome.
I would say my upbringing in a Christian home and really involved in ministry was actually so pure and so protected. My parents did a really amazing job at not forcing us to do things we didn't want to, but also having the discipline to going to church was never an option. And my parents really just showed us that serving can be a beautiful thing. And I am really blessed. And I often get asked oh, you grew up as a pastor's kid. How was that? Almost with the people are there's so many things that,
Yeah.
everyone experiences that are not healthy. And there's so many really
Right.
unfortunate experiences. And I really
Yep.
understand and have compassion. But whenever people ask me, they almost expect me to just start bashing the church
Mm.
and my family. And I think I surprise people when I say I actually loved it. And
Wow.
I'm still in ministry to this day. And so I have a really, I think, unique experience because
Yeah.
as I've gotten older, I realize it's,
Absolutely.
the pastor's kid stereotype is, it can be a negative thing, but
Yeah.
I feel like by the grace and mercy of God, I'm still walking with him today and serving in
Mm.
church. So
No, that's
yeah,
beautiful. And you're right. I mean, that's not always the story. So that just really speaks highly of your parents and just the protection of the Lord of what he was calling on your life even as a young girl. And it's cool to see that your parents never really gave limits to what you could do, no matter if you hadn't experienced or what age you were at. So I think that's going to set up really nicely knowing what we're talking about today of just the dreams that the Lord has placed in your life and how there really wasn't like these like walls or doors that you probably knew. Like you all face life and there's different things that we navigate through, but it's cool to see even hearing you preaching as like an eighth grader. Like I hadn't dated, but this was the opportunity given to me,
yeah,
or I'm singing on the worship team and I'm just this young girl, but there wasn't any like age or experience or things needed. It's just like if you have a heart for the Lord and you're willing and available, let's go, which is so cool. Before we dive into all of that, I can't wait to hear about the dreams the Lord's put on your heart and how you navigate that. You recently got married. How has that season of transition affected your dreams, your faith, and your sense of purpose?
it has been such a dream come true to be married. I've always wanted to be married. Like, I didn't date a ton in high school. I just like wasn't really interested in it. I liked boys, and sorry, my dog is I have
It's
a puppy
okay.
over here. He's digging.
He's like,
Um,
I need to be in this podcast.
he does.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah, like when I was in high school, I didn't date a ton, and even in college, I really wanted to date, but just like had a hard time
Mm,
finding the right person. I
right.
was also like really focused on dreams, and I just was like stayed really busy with staying motivated in school and college and all of that stuff in church. But yeah, I met Riley and I instantly like just felt at home with him. And
Mm,
one thing that I really loved about him was that we had so many things in common,
yeah.
especially with the fun things and like, just our activities and what we like to do. But then like our heartbeat felt the same in
Wow.
our calling.
It's
And
huge.
it was like an instant, like, oh, we're cut from the same cloth. And I think like
Um,
it felt like family.
yeah.
And so we dated, got engaged, and that was a really, really sweet season. And um, I love to like encourage people because I did date before, and I feel like I've experienced like what's not right, and then like
Yeah.
when like, oh, this doesn't feel right, like you just know in your heart
Absolutely.
maybe everything's right on paper, but you just have that gut feeling like I just don't think
Mm,
it. And so when I experienced the right fit with Riley, I was like, yes. It
this is
didn't
it.
take
Yeah.
long for us to realize we wanted to get married, and marriage has been such a like confirmation that it's the right choice. And
Mm,
I've heard that before, that like you make your decision obviously when you get engaged, but like it's a promise that God keeps confirming like in
wow.
every season, because as you know, like you've been married for a bit, you're not the same person every
Yeah.
year. Like you grow together, especially when you're young.
Absolutely.
And so it's been a really great transition. It's been about a year. Our anniversary was June 1st.
So
And in
fun.
that first year, um, obviously you're learning how to live together, how to be
Yes.
married, and like finances. What do you want to do with our lives? You just settle in for a lot
Yeah.
of the first year. And I feel like we
Yeah.
finally are like moving, we're growing now. Like we're done
Yeah.
settling, and we're like really like, God, what do you want?
So good.
And it's funny, we just had like a super like really good conversation yesterday, um because we're starting to like really ask God like, how do we merge our callings together?
Yeah.
And we're really learning that like, is God asking us to run together right now? Of course, but like, are there
Yeah.
things that he has for you and things he has for me? um or is it like something that he wants us to do together? And so it is, I don't
So
have it figured
good.
out, but I think it's just like one thing I'm learning to do. is to empower my husband and like speak life over him. And like I
Mm,
even just told him yesterday, like just so you know, I want you to lead our family, and I'm right
mm,
next to you, praying over you. And it's not like it's all on him to lead
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
He's leading me, but I'm also like interceding for our family and for
So
our
good.
marriage. And so, like, whatever God's speaking to him, I'm praying that I can confirm in him through my encouragement.
Wow.
And so, it's
Mm,
humbling to be married because you see a lot of your own flaws like really quickly
mm-hmm.
because nothing's hidden. But it's literally the best thing ever. And I'm obsessed with my husband. And I'm just thankful that God put us together because I'm
I
just
love
having the
it.
best time. And
Oh,
it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. No,
yeah.
you
You're
know
like,
how
oh
it
my
goes.
God. Yes. No, I think that's so good. And I just want to pause and hit on even what you were saying at the end of just like kind of putting your dreams together of like, okay, is this mine? Is this yours? Is it ours together? And even if it's separate, it's still like praying and supporting the other. And I really love just the fact of how your role is, and as a wife, to encourage and empower that. Sometimes we think it's just the man leading and we're just on the sidelines, but we have a huge role in, we can either help or hinder our husbands in leading. And so it's, you want to use those words so intentionally and speaking life and giving them that confidence and even affirming that confidence that the Lord's put in them, because anyone knows making decisions is not fun. It can be overwhelming. And so when you have that support of, hey, wherever you go, like I'm going, I'm in your corner, we're going to pray about this together, all those things. So I think that's a huge piece to be growing in and just constantly coming back and evaluating, especially as knowing you even before you met Riley was someone that had big dreams and has done so many different endeavors and trying and figuring out and pursuing the call that the Lord has on your life, just to bring someone else into that. I know for me, that was kind of scary of, okay, God, you've given me these big dreams, but I also have this big desire for marriage. But
Mhm.
what if like my future husband's like intimidated by those things or shuts those things down, or we have to go this way and I'm just kind of in the background, or like having a pastor title or whatever it is. And so I think being very intentional even in that dating process of knowing
Mhm.
like I've got to be with someone that is going to equally value, but also like knowing the order to things as well. And so it's been fun figuring that out. But even like we just celebrated 5 years, it's still figuring out dreams, and everything's morphing and changing as you go and having those conversations. But they really are fun conversations of like, when you realize it's not about pleasing other people, but it's just what is the Lord calling us to, it makes it exciting of like, man, we're on this adventure together. Like, where does the Lord want to take us? How does he want to use us? And knowing that we could be handpicked by God and, our
Mhm.
reach could be endless. How do we walk that out? So I think those are just like really good key points that you guys are navigating and figuring out of, how do I speak life? How do we come together in those dreams? So when you were dating Riley, I guess this is a follow-up question. How did you decide or come to peace knowing like this is someone that's going to champion the dreams that the Lord has for me, or someone that is going to want to partner in these things with me or us together?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I knew he was that way because he was that way. Like,
Hmm.
he, from the moment that we started dating, I think he actually, like, funny enough, the first time he ever saw me was on social media, and it was one of our mutual friends like did a drum cover to one of my songs, and
Wow.
that's how he like first saw me and like followed me on Instagram. And so like he was able to see my dreams like
Wow.
in the works when it comes to music and songwriting and artistry.
Hmm.
And that was something that definitely like attracted him to me because he was
Wow.
pursuing music in his own way.
Yeah.
And like it's funny because when we started dating, I actually like before I was dating him, I was like on my grind. Like I was writing every day, I was producing, I
Wow.
was in the studio, like I had like release plans and like all this stuff. I was going for it. And then I met Riley, and it's not like that stopped, but like like it's like practically I had less time,
Yeah.
and we were on the fast track to like falling in love and getting
Yeah.
married. And but even through that, he would like continue to challenge me. Like
Wow.
he like, especially when once we got married, and I was like, okay, I need to like get back to this, because like I think it's good to. It was a worth it pause for my dream to like fall in love and meet my husband.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was just like a seasonal like halt
Yeah.
to that. And it didn't even happen
right
purposefully, but I'm like, we're planning a wedding.
Yeah.
He's moving. We're doing all this stuff. And we had a talk like maybe 3 months into marriage, and I started to feel that like gap of I need to like create again.
Yeah.
He was the one to call that out in me, and he said, you need to write. He said,
That's so good.
I'm not gonna let you sit here and like waste the gift that God's given you. And it's not that I was neglecting it, but he was like challenging me. And
absolutely,
back to when we were dating, he was the most encouraging person for my dreams. And I felt like what I'd always prayed for in a husband was like somebody who would just like be ready to just like go and dream. Because I was with people before where I would like share dreams, or like, hey, I like want to do this with my music, or like I want to write, and it'd be kind of like, okay, almost perceived as a threat.
And
absolutely. Riley was never like, I was never a competition to him. That's so and I think that's the key, is like we were like, a win for you is a win for me.
Yep.
A win for our marriage, a win for both of us. So I think that's the key, is like you can't be with someone that you're obviously like fun competition is always good for relationship, but we are not competing against each other. And so I guess that's kind of a long answer, but
no, I think that's so good. And it's kind of like, not to make like a marriage a business in any means, but I think in any new position you're going to hire someone, like in order to take the team further, there's kind of a pause, because you have to train, get to know the person, build rapport, and then ultimately, once it's at that point, you're going to run even further faster. And so I kind of look at that as getting to know who, yes, your spouse in marriage, but also like who are you going to be running with in ministry and reaching the lost. And so that's important foundational pieces to like build and develop, so when the time comes, like Riley and Jaslyn, like they're ready to go. And so I think it's all intentional, and I love the fact that you're hitting at like, we're not in competition with one another, we are on the same team, which helps with like when conflict or arguments take place, of like, so often it wants, we look at it as like spouse against, the other spouse, or wives against husbands, but really it's just you two, against the problem in front of you, of like, we're on the same side, we're just facing this issue, we got to figure out the best way to navigate around it. And so I think when it comes to these, dreams and aspirations, that's another great piece of like, okay, like let's put this on the table of like, how does the Lord want to use this and navigate it and practically get to it. So let's take a step backwards, because some of the people listening probably like, wait, she writes music? Like, is she like good? Does she sing? First off, she is very good, and she has many songs out that you should definitely listen to. But kind of tell us, how did you get to the point of you wanted to sing, of songwriting, producing your own music, all this stuff? Where did that begin in Jaslyn's life?
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I have to start when I was like in middle school. I got obsessed with a few different artists. Okay. And I grew up in a musical family. So my mom's a singer, worship leader. She also writes songs. So my dad, even though he's a pastor, he also like growing up, he plays electric guitar, acoustic.
So music awesome.
Is just a part of our, it's like
it's in your veins. Yes. Me and
my sisters, like, we're always singing like 3-part harmonies at the dinner table, High School Musical
no big deal.
Soundtrack, like that's just how it goes.
So good.
And so I feel like I really, when I loved music, my mom put us in piano lessons, and then I got really hooked on like a few different artists when I was really young. Like I loved Carrie Job, Natalie Grant, and then there's this band called Pure Energy, and it's kind of like 5 vibes, whereas like Christian, like kids pop almost.
Okay.
And I would set up like fake recording studios in my room. Like my mom would walk in, and I'd have like a CD player taped to the wall with like headphones, and I'd have this like little like seashell that I used as a microphone. And I would spend hours recording
Wow.
before I even knew like what I was doing. And I, throughout high school, I started songwriting because of fine arts, which is like Assemblies of God, where they do like, you can do dance, preaching, all that stuff. Songwriting was a category, and I wrote my very first song for fine arts when I was in 6th grade. And just like that just kind of opened me up to the world of like creating songs. And I got to like sing it in front of my church, and it just like, it wasn't the best song. I still have it, but it was the start of a dream for me.
Monumental moment, yeah.
Writing like just like crazy, would consume music, and primarily worship music. I feel like really I was super emotional and like loved writing poetry in high school, and just have the most like ridiculous poems. And I was just like really emotional and just like in my feels all the time. And so I went to, after high school, I decided to go to Northwest University, and they have a really great program for like recording and producing and engineering. And I decided to go that route, and it was great. Like it was a primarily like male dominated major. There was only like 3 girls, I feel like, in my class.
Wow.
And so that was a challenge, but I really made some really great friends in college.
Yeah.
And just kind of learned how to like stand up for myself and figure out what I want to do like music wise. And I learned production, recording, got involved with like some songwriting and just collaborating in that way. And then after college, I did an internship in Nashville at a like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's Amazon.
That's amazing. I was like, what is happening? That's okay. This is we keep things real, you know? We love our Amazon packages.
Yeah.
They're considering this like an ad, you know? Like this is a break, you know? Amazon, please. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you're in Nashville.
Yeah, so I did this internship in Nashville, and was an amazing experience. I moved there by myself, and
so cool.
Just like had a really cool God connection with a record label, and I just interned like in their marketing department and got a little bit behind the scenes about like songwriting and how people pitch songs, and really amazing experience. And I ended up coming home because it was during COVID, and I just was lonely and missed my family. And I came there for an assignment, and I just kind of felt the season end. So I came back home. Yeah. And that's when I really decided that after seeing how it works in Music City and like seeing people go for it, I was like, I want to do this here in Washington. And
so cool.
I'd like to go back there one day, but I felt like I didn't feel like God was asking me to move. And so started releasing music in 2022, and kind of am going more the like Christian contemporary route. And yes, there's been a lot of, that's kind of the story, I guess, per se. And I'm still to this day writing music. And it's really interesting timing, because we were actually supposed to do a podcast, I think, in like April or like a few months ago. And I ended up canceling because I just like felt like I wasn't ready to like talk about, I felt like my dream had died a little bit. And I was like, I'm not going to talk about dreams, because it felt too like, I didn't have hope for the things that I felt like God spoke to me. And there was actually times where people prophesied over me that I was a songbird and that I would write songs before I even really was. And like, I knew this is something that God was going to do, but just in the past couple months, God's breathed life onto this dream of mine. And I'm still figuring out like, how do I do this? I'm working a full-time job. Really, you know, like, how is this going to work in the future? But I'm really just choosing to step back into the world of chasing after God dreams. So that's kind of the story about music. And I feel like I'm standing at the door. Just God's like, come on, let's go. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but
No, I just resonate so much with your words, because I'm like, that's how I feel with even running Cherish most days, is like, what am I doing? Am I doing it right? Lord, help me. This is so much, and navigating and juggling so many other things. And there's moments where you're like, is it done? Is it over? Am I so, just like hopeless moments. And the Lord's so kind just to pick you up along the way, send the right people, speak directly to you. Like if it's something the Lord really has called you to, he will see you through it, but it is a journey. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this concept of God-given dreams. What has it looked like for you to fight against the pressure to shrink yourself or dim your vision in response to what others think?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm going to
Let's
go
go.
back to something that was prophesied over me. And like,
Mm,
I was at a kids camp, youth camp, a summer camp
okay.
at Camp Baraka in Washington. And it was actually Pastor Russell Johnson. He was at the time the youth pastor at Cedar Park.
Okay.
And I was like sixth grade, super, super young. And we were all outside. And there was probably like 60 of us youth students. It was just our church.
Okay.
And I'm like sitting with my friends. He points at me and and I have it written down somewhere, but he said, God just showed me a picture of, the kids' book, Hungry, Hungry Caterpillar, where it's
Yes.
this caterpillar that he goes along the path and he's eating and consuming everything in his way. Like he just cannot get enough. He's eating the flowers, he's eating the apples,
Wow.
he's eating, and he's just consuming. And basically he's just kind of like soaking in all of the things that God's putting in front of him. Like he's just loving it. Like there's not just one area that he's interested in, but he's just consuming like all of these things that God's giving him. And he said there comes a time where the caterpillar gets put away in a cocoon for a season and is unseen. And all of those things that you've spent, all those dreams that you've consumed and just these visions for the future, there comes a time where those kind of get put to sleep and they're not wasted, but God is using that. And so there's going to be that season of bloom where you turn into a butterfly and you spread your wings and fly. And it was like one of those, I don't remember a lot from when I was in sixth grade, but like I do remember that moment because it just felt like it was marked by like God's presence. And a youth leader, like I think I recorded that, so like I still have like this voice memo. And I held on to that for a long time. And something that even just in these last few years, I have felt really like I've gone through seasons of really feeling like unseen when other people maybe get a spotlight, or and that, I mean, like there's maybe a pride issue in that we all face. Like we all want to have our moment. And we all do have our moment because we are all chosen, called, and have giftings. And so there's like, I think when that time came for me, and I felt like it kind of happened this past year when I got married, and I was like, God, all of these dreams that I had, I feel like just got put down. And I went to, I was at the Belonging Conference last fall, and I was really at a place. I went with my husband, and I'd gone for the past 5 years because when I lived in Nashville, I started going to that conference the Belonging Church puts on. And I was in like, there's like 5,000 people or something there, and I didn't know a ton of people. And I went down to the front for an altar call, and my good friend Brenda Rasmussen, who now works there at their college, he was the one person really in the room that like really, besides my husband, that I feel like I knew. She somehow found me in the crowd. I look up and she's right there, and she's like, she just speaks that word over me. And she said something about how like people have been speaking over you that you're doing too much. And there are things that people have spoken over you that you need to let go of.
Wow.
Because I felt like I was just like chasing after, just like trying to start businesses, trying to do my music, trying to do marriage. Like I just felt like I was all over the place. And I'm like, but I love all these things. I'm not trying to be ingenuine.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then it was a few months later that another person spoke over me. He said, there are things that have been spoken over you that you're doing too much, and that needs to be broken in the name of Jesus. You are not doing too much. So there's this theme of like, I've really felt bound by that word spoken over me, of whether it's judgment of people are like, what is she doing? Like she's trying to be someone, or like she's trying to do something. That misunderstanding of people who don't see the maybe the prayers
Yeah,
and the genuine
absolutely.
heart behind your dreams.
Yep.
And I want to bring it back to a Bible story that really spoke to me, and it's the story of Joseph and his
Yeah.
brothers. And as we know, Joseph had a vision from God that, and it's intense. His brothers were all bowing down to him in
Mm.
his dream. And it's kind of an interesting story. Like, we don't really know. Like, it obviously was a almost like an analogy of
Yeah.
greater things, but Joseph had this dream and he shared it to his brothers. I would say and speculate probably too soon.
Yeah.
And his brothers misunderstood him and tried to kill him. They were jealous of the
Yeah.
way that his father treated him. They were jealous of the favor. They were jealous of the dream.
Yeah.
And it caused such a nasty reaction of
Mm.
jealousy and a demonic reaction.
Yeah.
And, um, the story ends up amazing because God brings it all around. But I think God spoke to me in that when people speak death over you because of your dreams, it's
Mm.
actually not about them. It's
Wow.
not even about you. I think when you see someone running after what God has for them, and you see someone operating in like a gifting,
Yep.
and if you know that yourself are not doing that for what God's given you, because like Joseph's brothers were being immoral, they were not following the call that was on them. They were being impure. They were not following the
Wow.
dreams, and they saw their younger brother,
Mm.
who as the youngest should not have the father's favor, who as the
Yeah.
youngest should not be exalted above, but because they were not walking in they were not walking in obedience to what God had
Right.
taught them, it caused a jealous reaction in
Yep.
them. And I think that we've all maybe, and I'm not saying this over everybody, but I think
Yeah.
that there are specific situations where maybe people speak something nasty over you and it's like, whoa, what the heck? Like, I'm just trying to do cherish ministry. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
touch girls' lives. I'm just trying to help people. I'm just
Right.
trying to be obedient. And I think we can have confidence in scripture and in God's spirit to know who we are and what we're called to. And we can
Mm.
just shake off the dust of words spoken over us. And as
So
women of
good.
God, we don't have to bow down to the enemy's lies, and we don't
Mm.
have to be weighted down or discouraged, even though momentarily it is discouraging. Um, and I'm not perfect at this. Like, I get discouraged all the time, but I think remembering, like, it's really not about, this is not a battle of flesh and blood.
Yep.
It is a battle in the spirit, and the enemy wants so badly to steal our dreams and to
Yeah.
use them, and to distort them and to twist them.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I love that too. And that story of Joseph is such a good like parallel to what you're talking about. And it's cool to see the ending of it coming around where that dream really does come to life. And it's like what the enemy meant for harm, God meant for good. And so
Mhm.
I think a lot of times as we're pursuing the dreams and things for our life, like I've heard it before, the enemy has many faces, and not saying like a person becomes the enemy, but the enemy can use literally anyone. And
Mhm.
it's the power of the tongue and the our words that we speak. And so sometimes your closest friends or it's why we're called to live to please God and not people, because God's not going to always communicate to everyone around you, which for me would be so nice as a people pleaser. Like if everyone else could be on the same page of what the Lord's speaking to my life so they
Right.
could affirm it. But then that takes away, the ability to have faith. And sometimes faith is foolish. I just heard a pastor say this: I'd rather be a water walking, sometimes sinking disciple than a disciple that's stuck on the edge of the boat because of fear.
Mm.
And it's like we always harp on
Wow.
Peter for not making it out, but he got out of the boat,
Yeah.
And so I
Hmm.
think that's kind of the same perspective when it comes to dreams. It's being obedient and taking risks. It's not that you're going to get that song, to the amount of views or listens you want right away, but it's don't let it stop you, and people are going to say rude things or why would you continue pursuing or whatever it is. And same thing I felt with, cherishing moments. Like I remember, I think I stepped out in like 2021. I'm like, I'm going full time. And while it has been full time, I haven't been paid full time, and so
Yeah.
it'd be so easy to be like, well, maybe I don't have what it takes. Maybe I should just stop. I wonder if people think I'm, silly for doing this or what's the point? But it's always going back to who called me and what's the why behind the what. And so I love that promise of keep trusting the Lord. Like he's going to make it all come together, because if he's the one that's called you, again, like I said earlier, he's going to be the one to see it through in your life. So going back to this concept of people kind of speaking over your life, and I think many of us have gone through this idea of being too much, being labeled that. I think women, we fear that a lot, of being labeled as too much. How have you learned to stay obedient in the big dreams God has placed in your heart anyway?
Right. Yeah. And I think having like my husband as a champion for me has helped, because he's like just that reminder, or that person in your life who maybe it's a mom or a mentor or a pastor who can that speak that truth over you when maybe people are saying you are too much, or you're trying too hard and they just don't understand. Having someone who understands your heart and your dreams, just like being that true north and just continuing to pull you out of like the spiral, or having people who know your dreams keep you accountable to the things that you asked God for. Like, and that person is Riley for me, and my parents too, of like, hey, have you been writing?
Yeah.
I haven't. I guess I should. Like, you know, like otherwise it's just all on your shoulders, I think.
Right.
I think in my case of songwriting and creating, life is always changing, and there was a season of when I was living in my parents' house, and my life was a lot simpler, and I just had a setup and I had my routine and it was easy. In this new season of like settling into a new life with my husband, we're like, because we're both musicians, we're like trying to set up our life in a way where we can pursue those dreams, because it can so easily get pushed out of the way, especially like maybe if it's a dream that you're pursuing that you're not making like income off of, and it is a stressor, like you are spending money, you are investing. It can be really easy to just be like, we just have to pause right now because of X, Y, and Z, or my job doesn't allow me the time to. And so I think we're like just trying to make sacrifices for those things that we're like, God's called us to this. And it gets real when like dreams seem so nice and fun, and you're like, let's pursue this dream. It gets real when it takes sacrifice and money and time and effort. Like, dreams are not fluffy and fun. Like they start out that way, like warm and fuzzy. Let's Pinterest board.
The idea of it.
Meeting. Like, not a lot of people want to put in the work, including myself sometimes. And I wanted to say, like, to your last, what we were just talking about with you and your ministry that you're building. And I've seen you stay so consistent with, at least on like the outward display of it. And I just wanted to say, like, you never know who's watching you and who's staying inspired by you, because I remember getting coffee with you at the beginning. I think it was like, this was like before I think right after I came back from Nashville. 2021, maybe 2020. And I remember you telling me about Cherish, and I do still think about that. And like when I was at the conference a few weeks ago, I was like, wow, look what God did. Look what he's doing.
Wow, and that's cool.
Just to see other people, other women pursuing their dreams like ferociously, and just like not looking to the right or to the left. That encourages me and that inspires me to keep pursuing my dream, even when other people are maybe trying to cut that down because they're jealous or they're not understanding. That's what really inspires me. Is seeing other women and other individuals. And I'm really proud of like our area in Washington, because I feel like we've come a long way in so many ways, especially in the church. Like a few years ago, like we have like churches in our area that are releasing albums. We have like Cherish, and there's like different ministries that are rising up. And you know, like Seattle is known for like being one of the least churched areas. And I'm just like, one of my dreams has always been like, yeah, why does everyone have to go to Nashville? Or like, why do we all have to go to these hub
Right.
cities to like pursue, like, let's build that here in
Here.
Washington.
So good.
And I feel like that's happening in different ways where, it's not always about the big conferences and the big things,
Yeah.
but often that those are fruit of like a move of God. And
Absolutely.
I feel like it's changing here, and there's a wave of young people
That's
rising up
exciting.
and
Yeah.
like pursuing dreams, like God-given dreams, and it's like a network of we're God's army and we're rising up, and
So
a win
good.
for Cherish is a win for me, a win for like One Voice is a win for me.
Yes.
All these
Yeah.
different things. It's like, let's put our competition guards down
Yeah.
and let's
Band
run.
together in that. No, it's so good. I love that too because I even just doing tour this last year, like Tri Cities, Seattle, and then Fort Worth, Texas. I was like, man, I love Texas. It's like my where I grew up, so it's like my
Mhm.
roots. But there's so many opportunities in Texas, like for anything. I'm like, if you're a middle school girl, go to this conference. High school girl, down the street here. Like it's which is awesome. But there is that desire of like, man, I want that to be the feel in Washington as well. It's just like saturated with opportunities that there's no way you can step left or right and miss out on something that
Mhm.
God has for us or wants to speak. And so it is really cool to see all the individuals rising up and pursuing dreams because just like you said, they're fun in the idea process and thinking about it, but stepping into it, all of a sudden it's that I just realized how naive I was stepping out of my church. Like, I'm going full time. And I was like, I don't even know how to get a 501c3. Oh, I have to
Yeah.
pay money into this. I have to have a board. I have to do taxes. Like all these like things that I was like, that wasn't like a part of like the dreaming, the fun part, or having to fundraise, but yet the Lord teaches you so much and just continuing to step forward in that. So when, to your point, when you see people kind of knowing behind the scenes what they have to go through or more of like what that means to get to that point of what they had to endure through, it gives you so much more respect and stamina of like, man, I want to do this too. I want to run with, because if they can do it, I can do it as well.
Yeah.
So good. Dreams. Our final question for you on the podcast, it's been so good, is what would you say to the girl who feels called to more, but is afraid of being seen as too ambitious or too much?
Mm. I would say don't be afraid to start small
Mm,
and let it grow naturally. I
yeah.
think just with Joseph, and even this verse about when the angel Gabriel came to Mary and told her that she was going to be the mother of the Messiah, like what a bomb to drop. It says, following that Mary pondered this in her heart and she treasured
Mm,
it in her heart.
wow.
And that always stood out to me of like,
That's good.
I don't know. I like to parallel those two stories of Joseph and Mary. Like, well, not like her husband Joseph, but Joseph in the Old Testament.
Different
Um,
Joseph.
and how, like what does it look like to take a dream that God's given us and like really allow it to mature? And I
Wow.
think like when I was younger, I wish that I don't think I did anything wrong, and you can't really make mistakes because God's got your back in
Yeah.
this regard. But I think there's something really special about like holding something dear to your heart for a season and just waiting on God to answer.
Wow.
Um, and to the girl who like wants to just dream big, but maybe feels limited because there's people that
Yeah.
maybe it's a parent who's telling them that's too much.
Mm,
I would say guard your heart from anger and bitterness
yeah.
because that will kill your dream before any
Mm,
person does.
wow.
And trust your dreams to the Lord. And the Bible verse of like, God will guide your steps in every way, and how
Yeah.
like we can plan out our course, but it's God who determines our steps. And
Yeah.
so I'd say be obedient in the waiting season and
Mm,
trust the Lord with your dreams. And then also, I think bringing people around you who finding those people who will spur you on and encourage
yeah.
you is really
Absolutely.
important. It's hard to find, but I think that's what's helped me when
Absolutely.
to
No.
withstand the voices of negativity or
Absolutely. It's just kind of like a preventative thing. It's like the negativity will always be there. The lies will come up. So it's like having that action plan ahead of time of who are going to be the people that are going to point me back to the truth of what the Lord's speaking over my life. And, how do I guard those things? And I love that example
Yeah.
of Mary of just pondering it and cherishing the treasure of the dream that the Lord was speaking. So, Jaslyn, you are a blessing. It is also so fun to be on the other side, just watching you. I remember when you started releasing songs, I was a big fan. I was constantly listening to them in my car and sharing them with
Oh,
people all the way in Texas at that time. But I just love your heart for dreaming big and going after things. There's so many things that I just resonate with of how you're walking it out and just wanting to do it well and not giving up hope. And so it's just been so fun to see you just continuously get up and chase after the things that the Lord's put in your heart starting at a young age. Like I love when you can go back to see those moments of you in your room having this own little like recording studio. It's like that's just evidence of this isn't something you came up with or picked up on your own. The Lord has dropped that in your life at a young age. And so I am so excited for the girls that are listening to this that also have dreams of all different sorts of, aspects of life of what we dream for or aspire to be or become. And I
yeah.
hope you take the words of Jaslyn, just the wisdom, and hold tight to that. But we'll be linking some of her music, her Spotify playlist, so you guys can hear some of her songs and her Instagram to follow along. But Jaslyn, thank you so much for being on this episode today. We were so blessed to have you. And for everyone listening, we will see you again in a couple of weeks.